Welcome to another episode of Mystic Mondays. I'm your host, Monica Bay, also known as the Healer in Heels, ready to bring you into the world of all things mystic. Join me for a journey of spiritual growth, enlightenment, and self-actualization as we explore the wonderful world of mysticism where no gifted soul gets left behind. If you'd like to call in live to the show, dial 678-495-4345. And now, get ready for Mystic Mondays with me, Monica Bay.
Life Mastery with Monica Bay, the podcast that helps you heal your soul, find your truth, and live your purpose. Deep insights into life, relationships, finance, business, spirituality, and more. Learn to master every area of your life for total fulfillment. Monica Bay, also known as the Healer in Heels, uses her many spiritual gifts to transform lives worldwide. Tune in bi-weekly to Life Mastery with Monica Bay using your favorite podcast app. Don't miss out on your transformation.
Hello and welcome to Mystic Mondays. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm your host, Monica Bay, also known as the Healer in Heels. I am an energy healer, a psychic medium, and a spiritual teacher. And I named this show Mystic Mondays because I have a passion for mysticism, psychic mediumship, all things mystic, self-actualization, and spiritual evolution. So today we have a wonderful, wonderful show in store for you today. So first I'd like to say hello to our friends at WDJY at 99.1 FM. And then I'd also like to say hello to our friends at WTTA 101.2 FM in Kentucky and Ohio. All right, so now you can also watch and listen to all exclusive content at uimediaapp.com 24/7. That's right, so make sure you go to uimediaapp.com. Make sure you watch more of Mystic Mondays and all of the other great shows that we have available for you. All right, so today's topic is going to be amazing. Today's topic is psychic tools. And we have a special guest with us who will be joining us in the next segment. And her name is Helene Saucedo. She is a hand analyst with a little bit of a twist. So you'll see what I'm talking about when we get to that segment next. So I'm excited to talk about that today. And so today's topic is all about psychic tools and what she's coming out to talk about is part of that. All right, so if you have any questions during the show, you can call 678-495-4345 to answer any of your questions, and we'll be happy to do so. So call during any point of the show, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. Awesome. Now, just an announcement. As you all know, those of you who have been watching know that I just started a university called Mystic University, a school for the spiritually gifted. That's right. And it has been going amazing. I've been getting a lot of great feedback from it. A lot of new students signing up. So since we're talking about psychic tools today, I just wanted to let everyone know about a new course that we just put out at Mystic University, and that is Psychic Intuition Development. So again, anything and everything that I do, there's nothing normal about what I do. So of course, this university is not normal. It is not your everyday university. And the courses are not just courses. They are immersive experiences in which you are being transformed. You are experiencing transformation. It's not just spitting information at you in a course. These are completely immersive experiences. So during this psychic intuition course, you will not only learn how to magnify your psychic intuition, how to use your psychic intuition, and how to tap in to that psychic intuition, but you're also going to experience a third eye awakening and an activation. Those are two different things. So in this course, you will be given a third eye activation and a third eye awakening. Yes, that's right. Again, an immersive experience, not just a course. So go ahead and go to mysticuniversity.net. So that's mysticuniversity.net. Make sure you go there and sign up. And the price right now is low, but is going to be increasing soon. So get in now while you can. All right, awesome. So first, now it is time for Mystic Message.
Mystic Message.
Awesome. I always love that little thing. So the message today is all about trusting your intuition. Now, we've all heard that. You need to trust your intuition, and sometimes we know that we need to trust our intuition, but how do you do that? How do you really trust your intuition? So part of the message today is really because your intuition comes from a deeper place. It comes from your soul. It comes from your higher self. It comes from your spirit guides. Your intuition comes, it's a myriad of so many things happening at once. And so the reason why you need to trust your intuition is because when you do that, you are rightly guided. You are guided down your path. You are making the right moves to make sure that you stay on your path and to make sure that you stay toward your purpose. Because again, everything that I'm all about and everything that I talk about a lot is about your purpose, because your purpose is so important. If you are not walking in your purpose, chances are you are not fulfilled. I believe that the only way to reach true fulfillment in life is when you're walking in your purpose, when you are actually doing the things that your soul came here to do. Because when it's not happy. So your soul is always trying to speak to you. It's always trying to give you advice. It's always trying to give you guidance and trying to steer the ship. But see, the problem is we have our spirit self and then we have our physical self. And our physical self has the ego. And unfortunately, the ego gets in the way a lot of times. So when you are thinking about something, and you're trying to make a decision toward, in the direction that you think you need to go, it's always important that you follow what's in here, not always what's in here, because what'll happen is our brains are brilliant. Like we have wonderful brains, right? We have intelligence. However, intellect gets in the way of spiritual guidance, because what happens is we get an intuitive thought and then we explain it away. Because the mind wants to see and feel something. It wants to be able to see it or touch it in order to believe it. But the spirit doesn't need that, because the spirit realizes that we're beyond, everything, and information and true guidance is beyond that, what we can see, feel, and touch. So this is why our intellect can get in the way of our true intuitive guidance. And I know many of you watching this have had many instances where that has happened, where you receive an intuitive guidance, you receive something or a feeling of something that says, oh, I shouldn't do this, or, oh, I should do this. And then you don't follow it. And then you find out later that you should have followed it. So that's a pure example of why your intellect is not always the best when you are trying to be rightly guided. So what you need to do is mix the two, though. Obviously, we have brains for a reason. We shouldn't just forego them. But at the same time, make sure that you check the things that you're thinking in your mind. Make sure you check internally. Because what happens is your intellect can't see what's unseen because it's only relying on what's seen. Your intuition, your spirit can see all. Your spirit is all knowing. You already have all of the answers inside of you that you need. And your spirit is able to see what hasn't happened yet. Your spirit is able to see things behind the scenes that you're unaware of consciously. And so whenever you're guided by your spirit, you'll never be guided incorrectly. You'll always be on the right path and toward your purpose. And those are all stepping. It's a journey, not a destination. So it's always about walking that journey and making sure that you keep moving forward towards that journey. Now, again, your spirit can see the things that have not yet materialized. And then if you follow that, then you will see that materialization start to happen and that manifestation start to happen. So remember that you are all knowing, and make sure that you are always, always, always rightly guided. So that is the mystic message for today. Bam. All right. So now I want to talk to you guys, since we're talking about psychic tools today, and that was a perfect message. So as you know, the messages that I get for Mystic Message, I always go into a meditation prior to the show, and I just allow Spirit to give me the message that you all need to hear today. And that was the message. It just happened to be perfect for for the topic today, because we're talking about psychic tools. So one thing I wanted to explain to you is what are psychic tools. Some people may not understand what that means. Psychic tools are simply tools that aid in your intuitive process. So a psychic tool would be like tarot cards, a crystal ball, dowsing rods. There's so many different ways that we can divine information and use our psychic information. But that's basically what psychic tools are. But it's important to understand. A lot of times when people start getting into tarot or they start to get into any of these psychic tools, crystal ball, they look at these tools as if these tools are all powerful. These tools know everything. They're giving you the information. No, they are not giving you the information. You are gleaning the information, using them as an aid for stuff that's already in here and in here, okay, and out there. So these tools are simply tools for you to use, but the power lies in you, not in the tools. So it's not that, the tools are needless. What happens is the reason why psychic tools are so handy and a lot of people use them is because it makes it easier for us to be able to tap in. Because again, our minds like to see things. We like things that are tangible for us to really sink in and become part of our experience. And that's because we're in the physical plane. We're spiritual beings, but we're in these physical bodies, in this physical plane, rooted in this physical plane. So we have to interact with physical objects. We don't have to, but it's easier for us to because our mind is more tapped into that. It's easier for our mind to understand those things and to really connect with those things. So that's why psychic tools are so handy and a lot of people use them. How it works is that, for instance, I just use tarot cards as an example. You can, have a spread out, put a bunch of cards out. And what's happening is you're looking at the cards, and you may know some general meanings in your mind. But what's going to happen is those cards are going to spark thoughts, ideas, feelings in your mind. And what that's really doing is tapping into your intuition. It's tapping into the intuition, into the inner knowing, the higher knowing that's already within you. And it's just allowing you to begin to see it more clearly. And so that's really how psychic tools work. And psychic tools are great to use. It is important to know, though, that you don't actually need tools. You are able to tap in and just receive information as well. Tools are not necessarily the all end all in terms of, because again, the power lies in you. It doesn't lie in the actual tool. So now also when we're talking about psychic tools, your hands are also a psychic tool, which we're going to talk about with Helene right after the break. But you have there's so many different ways of having psychic tools. I Ching, for instance, some of you may be into I Ching. Those are psychic tools. Anything that you toss and read, anything that you scry, like cloud scrying, I think I talked about on the show before. And crystal ball is a form of scrying. And scrying is just basically you're looking at something and you are allowing the visual aspect of that to come into your psyche and your subconscious mind, and your higher self begins to read that energy and gives you a picture of and thoughts and feelings of what you believe is happening. So it's pretty cool, and psychic tools are definitely something to use. And if you're just starting your psychic intuitive journey and really tapping into what's already there, because first of all of us are psychic. Everyone is psychic. You don't have to be born with these magic powers in order to be psychic. It's everyone's birthright. Everyone has the ability to be psychic. It's within us already. It's just about tapping in and learning how to tap in and learning how to listen. Because again, what the Mystic Message today is about intuition. It's about learning how to listen. Because if you don't listen, the universe will get you the message in not so nice ways. So it's much, much better if you just simply tap in and listen. And again, using those psychic tools can be a very, very good way of being able to tap into that inner knowing that you already have and bringing it out and helping you really get that guidance faster. Because another thing is when you are using a psychic tool, sometimes that intuitive thought in the reading, sometimes your spirit guides are helping you with that in order to help give you guidance, especially if it's a reading regarding something personal. And your guides are always there. We always have spirit guides. Last show, I talked about spirit guides a lot, and all of us have spirit guides. And trust me, as a medium, I see them, and there are a lot of spirit guides. A lot of people have many spirit guides. I've seen whole armies behind people. And then sometimes it's just, one or two. But usually, I'd say on average, it's like between 3 and 10 guides on average for people. So, okay, everyone, we will we will talk about that after the next segment, and I will see you then. You're watching Mystic Mondays with Monica Bay.
At Heiser Orthodontics, we understand that your smile is a big deal for both kids and adults. We have the latest technology and state-of-the-art equipment. But honestly, what makes us unique is our patient experience. And we are not the only people saying this.
Heiser Orthodontics is amazing.
Superb.
Trustworthy. Compassionate.
A friendly place where they know what they're doing, and that's what I like about it.
We are a family-owned private practice where kids are valued, parents have a voice, and the entire Heiser team puts the patient first. Discover the Heiser Orthodontics difference. Call 470-330-9083 for a free consultation today.
Welcome back to Mystic Mondays. Thank you all for joining. So now we are back from the break, and I have with me a very, very special guest, and I have Helene Salcedo, who is a hand analyst. Welcome, Helene.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Monica.
Awesome. Well, it's been a while, and we've been trying to get this show together.
Yes.
I'm very, very happy that you are here. So introduce yourself and let everyone know who you are and what you do.
So my name is Helene Salcedo, and I am a palm reader / hand analyst. The only difference between those two really is that a modern palm reader usually calls themselves a hand analyst because we're looking at all of the characteristics in the hand instead of just what you normally think of as the line. And I've been a palm reader for a little over 2.5 years. That's it. It's been a very, very fast journey for me. My background is actually graphics design and art direction. But last October, and that fed right into this because it's visual communication. So last October, I came out with a kit called the Handful of Stars Palmistry Guidebook and Hand Printing Kit. And the intention of the kit is to make palm reading really easy and accessible for people because there's still this stigma of fear behind palm reading that it's all about when you're going to die and like these giant prophecies when really it is.
Don't look at my timeline. Don't look at my life.
No, I get that all the time. And that's another reason I do read palms out of a really cute pink vintage camper is because I want it to be welcoming and inviting.
Nice.
So I developed this sheet. This was actually a sheet that I used the first time that I read palms, and it was just a sheet I designed to make it a process that was just visually kind of tangible. And you take your handprint on the sheet and dissect it that way. And people love doing the handprint. They love, breaking it down themselves. But much like you were talking about tarot cards being kind of an opening for your intuition, same thing with palmistry. You start by learning the visuals, and you practice. You keep doing it, and then you learn to trust. The messages that you're getting, or if you feel the interpretation isn't necessarily resonating with you or your client, you can move through that. But I learned palmistry on. I think I have like 20 books. A lot of them are from the 1800s. And I started studying those. But times are different. Times are different now. So, and my crowd is young and modern, and we have different things going on. So, I started my path was very intuitive in how I learned palmistry. Some of those old, interpretations weren't working and they didn't feel good. To deliver. And so I kind of just put all those books aside and was like, okay, what is my message and what is this to me? And palmistry has really become light work for me. I 100% consider myself a light worker. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So going from, I just want to go back to you being, what did you say, a biologist?
I was a graphic designer, art director.
Oh, sorry, I don't know where I got that from. Graphic design.
A little different.
it's a little different, maybe.
Yeah.
So graphic design. And so what was the process of you going from graphic design into, were you always interested in palmistry? Were you aware about it before? Or did it,
No. So, I mean, I was a witchy kid, and I'm also super intuitive just by nature. My astrology, I'm like a triple Cancer. I'm a INFP in Myers-Briggs and like a Enneagram, 4, branch 3. So everything in me is, all of my, metaphysical charts are like, you're sensitive and intuitive. But I didn't, to me, as a kid, I was just highly sensitive. I was just like in my crab shell all the time. And graphic design, I started going into that in my late 20s, and I graduated from Savannah College of Art and Design in Savannah. And I wanted to be an art director. That was my goal. So I lived in New York City, and I was assistant art director at Steve Madden. And then I was art director of advertising and promotions at Macmillan Publishers. And that was all fun and great and fabulous. But it was a lot of work and a lot of stress. And while I was living in New York City, I got pregnant. I was at 36, I think. And I moved back to Atlanta because I didn't want to have a child in New York. When I delivered my baby, it was a traumatic birth, and I became a stay-at-home mom, and I was just kind of dealing with postpartum depression and all that scary stuff. And then when my child was 2, it was August of 2017, and there was that full solar eclipse that happened. Remember, everyone went out and bought the glasses. Yes, everybody remembers that one.
I remember.
That shifted things for me. And there is, like, when I look at my astrology, it was an opening of my my calling and like my true path. In fact,
I love that.
It was didn't feel like magic at the time.
Yeah, it usually doesn't. And then you look back and like, oh, that's right. What that was.
Spiritual awakenings are not like, it's more like, it just tears your whole world apart. But at the time, I had my 2-year-old. I was married to a man. We were living in a house in Decatur, Georgia. And I just woke up and I was like, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to. Everything just felt wrong.
Yeah.
And so just to kind of nutshell it, I came out as queer. I got a divorce. And I bought the camper because I had been a stay-at-home mom. And I just wanted to take away that fear. I think it was my ego that was like, you need a place to live, though, and you're still a stay-at-home mom. And I didn't want to go back to graphic design just because I just wasn't feeling it. So I went on this hunt for my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? Kind of the hunt that a lot of people are on when they get hungry, right? Sure. And I kept getting design as answered back to me. I didn't want to hear that. And then one day I was getting my hair done with my hairstylist. We were drinking some wine, and I was about to go to New Orleans on a trip. And I was thinking about what Atlanta had in terms, what I was drawn to, but then what was also missing. And this palmistry dropped in, and I was like, what even is palmistry? So I went to New Orleans. I got my palm read. I didn't really love the reading, but my friend dared me to work at a Christmas pop-up at her salon in December 2017. So again, that's when I designed this sheet, because I was freaking out. All the books out there are like this thick. They read the fingernails, cuticles, the air on. I mean, it gets nitty gritty. And I was like, that's too much. Okay, what's important, and what do people want to know?
Yeah.
So honestly, I just rode the wave. After that, I got my book deal 3 months after my first palm reading, because I started trusting my intuition. Like, what do I have to lose, right? I would get hit. I was like, should you make this a book? Oh, you have contacts in publishing. And it just went so fast. And I really believe the reason it has gone so fast is because my purpose is connecting with people and making them feel seen in a way that is light. And palmistry is my catalyst for that. So
that's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah. And it sounds like almost such a random story, but as we know, nothing is random, right?
And then looking back at my past too, it still all makes sense. Like, I think the design is what kind of my platform for palmistry is, that I've made it more modern and kind of cool. So now people are like, hey, but what is that?
Yeah, because you know what? Palmistry is kind of like, when you think about it, you picture like I don't know, like a gypsy or something. Like,
Yes.
you kind of
Yes, and
something
that's
like very old worldy, even not
right.
really necessarily like today and modern. Yeah.
Right. And the word psychic, at first, that word kind of turned me off too, because I think there's a stigma with that word that,
There is. Yeah.
So my trademark is, or my logo is registered as a psychic service. And at first I was like, oh, so I am more comfortable with the word intuitive, but as my intuition grows, I do get more confident using the word psychic.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Even me for a while was like, well, I don't know if I want to say the word psychic because people, people do have a certain view.
I think it's the crystal ball, right?
But that's the only word that really explains what it is.
Sure.
Like to the level of what it is. Yeah.
Well, I always also have imposter syndrome,
Okay.
That's real. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't like to promise that I'm going to drop some psychic information on you, but when it happens, I'm like, well, that was cool.
Yeah. So that's amazing. So yeah, I want to get into just a little bit before the break. I want to get into a little bit about your your process. Well, actually, we'll save that till after the break because that's going to be longer. So let's talk about, because I do want to hear all about your tricked out. I'm going to call it a tricked out camper.
Yeah, it is tricked out. So it's a 1955 Dalton camper. Anybody can see pictures of it on my Instagram at handfulofstars_readings. But the outside is coral, like scallop painted, and the inside has been completely redone. I did not redo it. I bought it off eBay, and just the moment I saw it, I cashed out my 401k to buy it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, there was a lot that happened.
That's dedication. That is dedication.
Well, and when I bought it, I didn't know I was going to do palm readings yet. I thought I was going to do nails, which is interesting because same vein, same avenue. But I did think I was going to use it for work, but also just to have. But the inside is amazing. There's wood paneling. I have kind of like a unicorn theme going on. I'll take her to festivals. Her name is Despacito. I take her to festivals and pop before I did. Well, I hope to do it again soon. I saw the pictures of it online, and I was like, I love this camper because it like you can't walk into that in a bad mood. It just it just feels like magic. Yeah, it's got a childlike flavor to it. Yeah, so it's like, I bet that also puts your clients at ease because then they're not like, oh my God, don't read my, by the time they walk in, they're not even thinking about their lifeline. Yeah, and basically it's my office, so, it's not bad. Yeah, and not a bad setup. It's always good to have your office as light and bright and shiny as possible. Right. Yes. And also it's kind of ironic that I'm a Cancer Leo, and here I am like pulling around a home with me, like in a very loud way as my wife. I love every minute of that. That's awesome. That is awesome. So why the name Handful of Stars? So the name Handful of Stars, I mean, honestly, all of this stuff dropped in, but I had gotten a tattoo on my hand that had stars on it. And it dropped in. But what Handful of Stars means in terms of palmistry is stars are magic, or brilliance, or shine, or sparkle, wherever they are on the hands. And not everybody has stars on their hands, but when I do see a star in a spot, I'll be like, oh, this is where your magic is. This is where your power is. This is, this is something really special about you. So yeah, not every hand has stars, but I always, there's different special marks in everyone's hands. And if we have the time, I'd love to talk about marks of intuition on the hands. Yes, definitely. Let's do that right after. Definitely right after the break. I believe I have some stars on my hands. I used to do a little bit of palmistry. Not as like a regular thing, but I remember having my hand before, and I had a couple of stars. I don't remember where they are now, though. But have you had a palm reading? I have. Yes. Yeah. Yes, I have. Yeah, before I had one before I started doing palm reading, and I was very young, and I just remember her saying, you have too many lines on your hands, and my hands are nuts. Like there's a lot of lines, but I've lived a very full life. So that's funny. Well, that's good. That's a good thing, right? Yeah. All right. So we're gonna continue this discussion right after the break, and we'll get into where the intuition lines are in your hands. So that'll be interesting. All right. So we'll be right back after this. You're watching Mystic Mondays with Monica.
This is Kurt Arsenault of Arsenault Advisory Group. Do you make a six-figure income but live paycheck to paycheck? You're not alone. Many six-figure income households will buy too much home and too much car, creating tremendous financial stress that builds debt when you should be building wealth. If you make six figures and live paycheck to paycheck, visit arsenaultadvisory.com and download our free ebook titled, I Make Six Figures and Live Paycheck to Paycheck. You have nothing to lose and potentially everything to gain. Visit arsenaultadvisory.com today.
Welcome back to Mystic Mondays. I'm your host, Monica Bay, and I am here with the wonderful Helene Salcedo, who is a hand analyst, and we are talking all about palm reading right now. And Psychic Tools is the topic for today. So we'll jump right back into it. Helene, I would love to hear what you were going to tell us before the break about the intuitive marks on the hands.
Yes, so there's a couple marks that I see a lot in the people that come get readings for me, because most of them are interested in this sort of thing or drawn to me through intuition. The first mark is between this top line right here is your heart line. This bottom, well, it's in the center, is your headline. A lot of times there's an X between those two lines, and that's called a mystic cross. And that is a very strong. Do you have it? I'm sure you do. It is a very, a lot of times I don't even have to look at the hands. I'm like, you have all these. It's just a gift of intuition. So I think a lot of times that there's genetics involved in this. So it can be a DNA thing. The next place would be the fleshy mounts that go around your palm that are kind of bumpy. Those are called mounts. And this down here, under your pinky, is the Mount of Luna, and that is spirituality, intuition, inspiration, all that trusting. So if that is, it kind of pushes, like it's fleshy, that means it's developed. Another way to judge it is just to like hold your hand up like this, and if it looks kind of mountainous, then that would be intuition as well. But the next place is under your fourth finger. If you're holding your hand up eye level and you see under your fourth finger two bumps, it oftentimes resembles, it looks like a little butt. That's Apollo. This is all mythology, and Apollo was, I bet you got that one too. Apollo was the god of, he was the god of medicine, so we have healing, and he was also the god of music and the arts, so we have creativity. So a lot of intuitive people will have that as well. In a reading, I dive much deeper and I'll look at fingerprints. There's a fingerprint called a whorl, which looks like a circle. You can Google it. It's a forensic term. And if you have that on your fourth finger, a whorl, then that's usually a marker of, healing and creativity is your path or destiny.
And what does that look like? Because now I'm looking.
Oh, a whorl, you'd have to get in bright light. It looks like a circle. Like the inside of a tree going around. That would be that marker as healer or creator in his destiny.
In the center of your finger, and you said it's the but not
the fourth finger. Yeah, it's really easy to see this stuff in the daylight or under like your iPhone flashlight.
Yeah, I believe I see it.
Yeah, I bet you do. So fingerprints aren't in my book. There's actually another book for that called Life Prints, and it was this system of figuring out your life purpose or life path by Richard Unger. So if anyone's interested in that, I would steer them that way.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about, well, thank you so much for that. That was very interesting. So now I'm sure everyone, not just me, I couldn't help myself. I had to check my mounds and everything.
It's so fun.
So I'm sure everyone is also checking their hands right now. Tell me a little bit about your kit and how that works, and really what sets it apart from I guess the way that a lot of other people have been approaching the art of palm reading.
So I'm a visual learner. Like I said, I was a graphic designer. I like visuals. They're very helpful to me. So my kit is interactive. So this is the box. It's a nice big box. You open it up. There is the book inside. It's like a 90-page guidebook. And then underneath it is the tools you need to print your hand onto that sheet of paper that I showed you. So there's an ink roller, ink pad, and a silver gel pen. And so in the back of the book, are those sheets of paper where you will, in the beginning of the book, it tells you how to print your hand. Print your hand on there, and then it's step by step. It goes through the whole process. So it really breaks everything down. There's a cheat sheet in the beginning. This is my hand that's marked up, like a finished reading. But I really want it to be just as easy as possible. What are we looking at? And again, the basics to get your feet wet and to learn, because it is intuitive, but it can be learned just from like a textbook, by going off of the just all the visual characteristics of the lines and all the other pieces of your hands. And I love, my favorite part of the book was like putting inspirational quotes in there. It starts with The Guest House by Rumi, one of my favorite poems, which is just about staying open. Yeah, he's amazing. It's just about staying open. So my message also with palmistry is just to be open to any modality that you're drawn to, no matter what it is, because you might get a little breadcrumb of, something that might draw you closer to fulfillment.
Yeah. Awesome. So first of all, I love the packaging.
Yeah.
I love how you put all of that together. And so it sounds like, and from, what I gleaned, like it's been how long ago did you put that out?
It's just been about 6 months. It was last October.
Okay.
So it's done all right. It was on Anthropology. Urban Outfitters was selling it, which made me extremely happy. But it can be found, Amazon, any of those online, Barnes & Noble online.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
You heard it here. Make sure you guys go out and get that and start learning how to read your palm.
Yes, I'm not accepting remote readings right now because I just burnt myself out at the beginning of the pandemic. But I do a lot of interactive things on Instagram where it's just fun. I'll ask for photos of hands and then write up a little, what's special about it. So if anybody's interested,
that's fun.
Yeah, if anybody's interested, just Instagram is where I'm most active.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So let's, what is it that you have a passion for right now, mostly in terms of with what you're doing? What do you want to give to people? Like, what is your mission?
My mission is, I think it's just to, I want to inspire. I really do. I think that my story has been inspiring to some people, like the way it was a tower card moment for anyone who's into tarot. I just burnt it all down and built it all up, and I really got beautiful results. I'm living my most authentic life. And that's been, extremely powerful. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on right now. And honestly, that's what I feel like might be missing from my book a little bit, because it is very textbook. I'm going to teach you, but I want to help people find what they're looking for, because I think that that's what's happening a lot with palm readings is people are looking for something. But also just helping people find peace. There's a lot of, all the lines on our hands work on timelines. So when I'm reading a hand, it's often storytelling about what people have gone through from childhood on. And so when I see like a turbulent childhood, oftentimes the other hand shows a lot of healing and processing, or just finding the validation that they've been through these times in their life. Like the coincidences in the hands, they're not coincidences. If a line is broken, it's usually at a time in which you were broken, and that's extremely cathartic. And so I want people to see that what they've gone through was hard, but they got through it, and to inspire them to go further. And it's hard to practice what I preach.
It's always easy. It's always easier to say it than to do it.
Yeah. The book took so much energy from me that when it actually came out, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's next for me? Like, somebody read my poem. Because of what I went through and where it got me, I have a lot more faith and trust in the universe, looking forward to my next steps, because I know, I can't force it. It often has to come. But also you can't be lazy about it, right? So it's like,
you have to be an active participant on your journey.
Exactly. So that's my thing. I listen to my pings, and then I put a little something out into the universe. In the digital age, that's so easy because it's like sending a DM or writing an email or reading a book. And again, breadcrumbs.
Yes, definitely. So when you're reading someone's palm well, first of all, I have a question for you because a lot of psychics have a hard time reading themselves. So are you able to read your palm, or do you need to go to someone else to have that read?
I really prefer going to somebody else because when I look at other people's hands, I see all the beauty and the light. I look at mine, I just like zero it. Yeah, I'm like, oh, there's that, boundary problem or whatever. And with tarot cards, I always have my friends read my cards because my ego gets in the way. I don't know. Palmistry is it's just what works for me. But I love cards. I love, Reiki and all that. But yeah, I did want to talk about one thing, why the hands are so powerful.
Yes.
So our hands right here is one of the largest nerve systems of our whole nervous system. So that's why, we have Reiki and things like that. But also that's why we have these marks on our hands. So it is a very powerful part of our body. So even when we're working with cards, we're working with our hands. So much of this stuff is from the hands.
Yes, and then there's also a major chakra in the hands that
yes,
enliven everything. So since you're talking about the lines in the hands, especially with the power in the hands, can you explain why the lines change over time?
Sure. So the general lines and fingerprints are developed on our hands 5 months before we're born. The fingerprints never change, which is why we have forensics and why some palmers read them for life purpose and destiny. The lines change as we change. So it's been really interesting that I've been doing palm reading since my kid was 2 because now she's 4. And I'm looking at her hands to see how it changes with her personality and what she is experiencing. So it does kind of track your path. So it's not like a Harry Potter map that's going to glow in your sleep and rearrange. I think it's also working with the regeneration of our bodies. But if anyone's interested to track that, I would take a picture of both hands in the light. So usually a big question is, what is the difference between the two hands? So the hand that you write with is considered your dominant hand, which is usually a right hand. And that's going to hold who you are in the present moment. And that's the one that's going to change more. Again, changing as you change. And then your left hand is this idea of destiny. But I like to think of it as you at the end of your road looking back. So there's often a lot more peace and healing in that hand, whereas your dominant hand is usually what's crap going on, looking for that peace. Yeah. So they can be very similar or they can be completely different.
Yeah, interesting.
It's all
and I'm
relative.
glad you said that because that's kind of how when I'm working on healing people and things like that, and when they feel energy moving in one hand or the other, I always ask them, are you right-handed or left-handed? Because I have the same view that the hand that you actually work with is like what you're doing right now in life and how you're moving through life. But this is like your original recipe.
Yes, exactly.
This is what you came in with, and this is your potential, but this is what you're doing. That's kind of how.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. And you can tell astrology in the hands. That's my favorite thing right now is to try to guess somebody's sign because there's a lot of just personality traits that are marked in the hand. So it's a tool to get to the self-reflect and know yourself better.
Yeah. Now, do you also read the size of the hand? I know you were talking about before about like fingernails, all these other things. And it sounded like you kind of prefer to kind of I guess bring it down to what people actually are interested in. But do you read? So what parts of the hand besides the lines do you read?
Well, people are very interested in love, right? So affection lines are over here under the pinky. And then spirit guides are over here under the pointer finger. And I look at the shape of the hand for what sign their hand is. So, same as the zodiac, fire, earth, air, water. I can see that in the hands. And then I look at the flexibility of the hand. There's also bracelets. So there's a lot more to what's here. I just don't go so deep into the nails. Because what if you I haven't gotten my nails done in 3 months. So,
I bet in this day and age, it's probably hard to read fingernails, especially on women.
Right.
Your nails done. It's like you can't even really see what the nails look like.
Exactly. Yeah, but you can do it from pictures, which has been it's just been helpful to me.
Okay, awesome. All right. So let everyone know how they can reach you and what you have going on.
Yeah. So Handful of Stars _readings on Instagram, and then handfulofstarsreadings.com. I keep a list of my events there, which right now are mostly online, but that's where you can find me. And then my book is just available online at most retailers. A Google search will show you where.
Awesome. All right. So don't forget Handful of Stars. Helene Saucedo, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Monica.
All right.
Of course. Thank you.
We'll be back. We'll be right back after this episode, right after this. I don't know. We'll be right back after this. Thank you. You're watching Mystic Mondays with Monica Bay.
For total health, you've got to address the whole person. Don't stop at the physical body. There's more. Hi, I'm Dr. Arlene Diamco, and I'll help you uncover the depths of healing with my show, The Multidimensional MD. I'll talk about the mind-body connection, consciousness, energy medicine, food, herbs, and more every other Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the UI Media Network. You can catch me live on uimediaapp.com, WDJY 99.1 FM in Atlanta, Facebook Live, Spreaker, and almost all the podcasting platforms at UI Media Network. Write to me with anything that's holding you back from enjoying optimal health at contact@uimedianetwork.org. And I won't hold back on sharing the secrets to access deeper healing by addressing the many layers of your being. Dive into these dimensions together with me, Dr. Arlene Diamco, the Multidimensional MD.
Welcome back to Mystic Mondays. I'm your host, Monica Bay, also known as the Healer in Heels. And we just had a wonderful, wonderful guest on, Helene Saucedo, and who is a hand analyst for A Handful of Stars. So definitely go check her out. She just shared a lot of great information with us and had me looking at my palm here. So today we are talking about psychic tools. And one of the psychic tools so earlier we talked about a lot of different things. We talked about what psychic tools were and following your intuition. So in this segment, I want to kind of get into some of the actual tools that you can use. So we just had the palm expert on, and again, your hands are also a tool. So that's why we were, working with that especially. But another tool that is very, very easy to use are dowsing rods. Now, dowsing rods are usually pieces of metal. It's like an L shape, basically, and you just hold one end, and the rod, it's literally a rod that sticks out, and then it starts to kind of move in different directions. So it's really, really easy to be able to get an answer of yes or no, questions that have yes or no answers, very, very simple to ask, and you can get like really, really detailed and do readings. Again, this is a tool, and this is a perfect example. Dowsing rods is a perfect example of how, these things are just tools, because how it works is you're holding the rod and the answer is already inside of you. Like I said, we already have all the answers inside of us. So if you ask a question of, am I going to, is whatever I'm working on going to come to fruition, whatever that is. You already know the answer to that, but you may not consciously know the answer to that because your mind is getting in the way of your spirit being able to give you that answer. So you may not want to hear the answer, or you may think you know the answer, but then you start to explain it away with your conscious mind. So the dowsing rod allows your spirit to then move the rod to tell you the answer. And it's really your energy system, which is also your spirit. We have a spirit body, we have an energy body, we have a physical body. We have many other layers in between, but we won't get into all that today. So when you are holding the dowsing rods, what's happening is when you ask a question, your spirit already knows that answer. So it's going to move the rods. And it's always amazing when you see it because your hand's not moving at all, but the rod begins to move in one way or the other. And then that tells you the answer, yes or no. Another way that's very similar is body testing. So body testing is when you stand straight up and you're level and your hands are just at your sides and you're standing very, very straight but grounded, feet planted on the ground. And then you just ask a question. Again, these are yes or no answers. ask a question. You're using your body as the tool. That's the psychic tool. Whereas the dowsing rods were the tool, now you're using your body as the tool. But again, it's connected to your spirit, obviously. So that's where the answer is really coming from. And you ask a question, yes or no, and then you close your eyes and you just wait. And you stand firm. Your body's going to either lean forward or it's going to lean back. And you just allow it to do whatever it's about to do. And usually forward is yes and backwards is no. And it's interesting because sometimes because it's you and it may be a question that you're very, very connected to the outcome of, and you want it to be a certain way. With body testing, your body won't lie to you. So even if you don't want to move forward, your body's still going to move forward. Even if you don't want the answer to be yes or no, your body's still going to move forward or backwards as it's supposed to. And you'll know that that's what it's doing. And so it's very, very great way, very good way to, be able to get answers to questions that in order to get your mind out of it. Because as I was talking with Helene earlier, is that a lot of psychics have a hard time reading themselves. And this is why, because it's easier when you're looking at someone else to get an answer to a question, because you're not invested in the outcome of whether that's yes or no. You're just going to read, get the answer and give it to the person that you're doing the reading for. But when you're doing it for yourself, you're very invested, especially if it's an emotional question, and it's an emotional situation, something that you are emotionally attached to, that you need or want to be answered in a certain way. It's very, very easy because, again, your intellect will get in the way. Very, very easy for you to convince yourself that this is what you're seeing when that's really not what you were seeing initially. You'll get the answer right away, but then you'll start to say, well, no, I could also look at it as this. And that's when you start veering off the path and getting the wrong answers, even though that they may be answers that you want to hear. So again, your body's not going to lie to you. That is a great way to be able to trust that you can do readings for yourself by simply asking your spirit, asking your body, and allowing it to physically show you. And again, it's because our minds and our psyche, our conscious mind specifically, likes to see tangible things in order to believe it. We like tangible things. And so your body is a tangible thing. It moved, okay, it moved, we saw it move, we felt it move, we know that it moved. Versus if you are just clairsensing and information just drops into you, or your spirit is just speaking to you and just gives you an intuitive thought or feeling, you may easily explain that away because it's all in here. It's not anything physical or tangible that you can touch and see and have proof to yourself that this is what happened or this is what it is. And this is why, again, going back to the mystic message, which was so perfect for today, this is why it's so important for you to follow that intuition and really, really connect with that intuition and be able to actually listen to that guidance. So body testing is one way of really being able to double check that. If you ever wanted to check that, dowsing rods are another great way to do that. Now let's talk about the pendulum, because a lot of people know about the pendulum. Some people don't. If you don't, let me explain. So the pendulum is usually either a piece of metal or a piece of crystal, usually with a point at the end, that is on a string or a chain, and you just hold it and it dangles. And so the thing is, I don't suggest using, a lot of people do use the pendulum for psychic divination or as a psychic tool. I always tell people that the majority of the people, I would say about 90% of people, from my experience and observation, about 90% of people can't do that. It's not that it doesn't work in terms of the actual pendulum moving. It works, definitely, but that's part of the problem because it works so effectively that we can move the pendulum with our mind at will. And most people, especially if you're a mystic, especially if you have any level of psychic ability that's been developed and spiritual connection that's been developed, you can easily move that pendulum however direction that you want to move it to. And so if you want the answer to be no, guess what? It's likely going to say no. And you're not consciously moving it, but subconsciously you want that answer to be no. And so, your fear of it being yes is moving it to no. So this is why I don't suggest that people use a pendulum for yes or no answers in terms of psychic divination like that. What a pendulum is good for, a good psychic tool for a pendulum, is if you're just reading energy. So it's not about a situation. It's not about yes or no. It's not about anything like that, but it's about reading energy, because the pendulum can actually connect to energy. So for instance, if I used to use it when I was healing people in person, I would put the pendulum over them. This is when I was first starting out. I would put the pendulum over them, and then the pendulum would show me where the negative energies were, because it would start to move in different ways when you put it over different types of energy. So you can do that with stones, you can do it with people, different parts of your body, and that works very, very well. But the question and answer, yes or no, doesn't tend to work out so well. So that's just to let you know about that. So if you are a person who uses the pendulum, like I said, 90% of people will move it and get incorrect answers, which is why I don't suggest it. But there's the 10% that can use it, get correct answers, and it's great. So if you're in that 10%, continue using it. If you're not, then I would suggest you use a different psychic tool that, like body testing, because body testing is very similar to the pendulum in terms of you just being able to ask a question yes or no and getting that answer right away. So body testing is a lot more reliable than the pendulum, only because, again, you can easily move that pendulum. And the reason why we can easily move it is because if you've done any development on yourself, on your spirituality, on your spiritual power, then you have some telekinetic ability. And a pendulum is one of the easiest things to do when you're practicing telekinesis, because it's very easy to move with your mind and with your energy. So that's why that works like that. All right, so I want to talk again about crystal balls too. So crystal balls are another great psychic tool. I love crystal balls, and because I just love crystals and just connecting with the energy of those crystals and being able to really be able to allow them to give you the information. So there are two ways of connecting with a crystal and doing a crystal ball. One is the standard way that most people usually do, which is you light a candle, you kind of dim the lights in the room, and you put the candle kind of next to the crystal ball and you peer into the ball. This is called scrying. So you're just staring, you pick a spot that you're going to stare at in the ball, and then everything else in your peripheral vision starts to go blurry, and you stay focused on that, and then you start to actually see things and answers to your question. You may see whole scenes happen, which is why, in the cartoons you see with the crystal balls or in sci-fi movies you see the crystal balls and you see an entire movie playing inside the ball. That's kind of how it works, but it is visual. It is with your eyes. You'll actually see it, and it's a mixture of your actual eyes and then your third eye. So your mind's eye and your physical eyes are seeing the scene. So that's one way of doing crystal balls. But another way of doing a crystal ball is because crystals actually have wisdom in themselves. And crystals have a spirit, and they are alive. So as you connect with the spirit of the crystal ball, you can also ask it questions and receive answers from the ball itself. And in that case, that's when the ball does have power. But again, the power is still in you. But that would be an example of a tool if you're using it in that way, where it can have, a lot of power. And it's because you're getting the answer, you're getting the answer from the actual crystal itself, because they hold lots of knowledge and they naturally connect with the whole of the universe, and they're able to bring all of that information. Everything that ever was, will, and ever was, is, and ever will be, is that information is locked in those crystals. Okay, so thank you guys so much for watching today. One thing I want to just say before we get going is, again, Mystic University, mysticuniversity.net. Definitely want to join. We have a psychic intuition development course that I just launched, and it's been amazing. And you will get a third eye awakening, a third eye activation, and learn all about your psychic ability and how to magnify that and how to actually use it. So definitely check that out. mysticuniversity.net. Also, don't forget to go to monicabay.com to schedule a free consultation if you'd like to work with me directly. Again, either monicabay.com or mysticuniversity.net. I will see you next time. Thank you for watching Mystic Mondays with Monica Bay.
Spirit shout out. Thank you for watching Mystic Mondays with me, Monica Bay, also known as the Healer in Heels on United Intentions Media Network. Want to see more of me? Be sure to follow me on all social media at The Real Monica Bay. Join me next time on Mystic Mondays as we continue to elevate and illuminate all things mystic. Until next time, stay updated on all UI Media shows at www.uimediaapp.com.
The United Intentions Foundation and its associates take no responsibility for the opinions and statements made by the talk show hosts or their guests.